afternoon, folks. Hope everyone is done with lunch because we have really saved the best for the last. Today, we have with us two wonderful entrepreneurs, and I don't want to call them stars at all because they are the really wonderful entrepreneurs who are here with us today. Two from two different generations, one who's built the path, cut out the mountain to create a road for all of you here to follow, and the other who's also charting his own path. We have with us a person who's created a startup at a time when most of us did not even think about startups, and created a company that has that has created standards that all of you need to live up to. Naukri.com began when startups were unheard of, and today it's a group. InfoEdge group of companies has under it not only just Naukri, Jeevan Sathi, 99 Acres, and many, many more companies. On his way here, Sanjeev Bikhchandani has not only built this company, he's also funded many others, mentored thousands of entrepreneurs, created and patronized organizations like TIE Delhi NCR. And here is where he is today. We have with him, in conversation with him, Dr. Ritesh Malik. Ritesh is a medical doctor, but he also created a company, exited that, and today he's building a world-class university, and which many of you may have heard of already, Plaksha University at Mohali, and many of you will soon hear of it if you haven't. Let us put our hands together for Sanjeev Bikhchandani and Ritesh Malik on stage here.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Upasna, for this amazing introduction. It's my honor to be here with one of my mentors, and at the same time, to moderate this session with the OG of the Indian startup ecosystem. He's a true friend, philosopher, and guide to so many young entrepreneurs, and he's seen it all. So thank you very much, Sanjeev sir, for doing this.
Thank you. Thank you for calling me.
Okay, so post-lunch sessions are very tricky, so we'll keep it very interesting. The first question for Sanjeev sir is, let's go back in time, 1997. There was no startup ecosystem of India. There was no structured capital for startups in India. There was no infrastructure. Hardly we had 1 crore people who had, 1 million people who had privileged mobile phones, not smartphones. Tell us about the journey. Why did you start Naukri.com? Because it's ideally going against the tide.
You know, I didn't think too much. I had quit my job in 1990.
I think you can take this. We'll just use this.
Yeah. You know, I didn't think too much. I had quit my job in 1990. I was 27 years old then, and I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And I didn't have any big ideas. I was just pursuing, for the next 7 years, I drifted and pursued a whole bunch of small ideas. Teaching, training, salary survey, trademarks, reports, consulting, whatever came my way to survive, right? We were running out of a servant quarter of a garage in my father's house. At that time, you know, when we started out, there was no mobile telephony. There was an 8-year waiting list to get a telephone line. So electricity supply was erratic. Voltage would come low, and kabhi 3-4 ghante bijli jati bhi thi, right? So, and I had no money. We were broke. So I was drifting, doing a whole bunch of small things. And at Pragati Maidan, there was an expo called IT Asia in 1996. I went there and I saw a small stall with the internet for the first time. And that's when I figured that maybe if I just get all newspapers and magazines from around the country every day, every week, and just take the appointment ads and put them all in one place on a website, some people might find it useful. And we did that. We would get newspapers and magazines from around the country. We would enter the data and put up jobs. Twice a week we'd update it. We launched Naukri. At that time, there were only 14,000 internet accounts in the country.
Wow.
केवल 14,000. तो उस समय हमारा कोई बड़ा आइडिया नहीं था, कोई विजन नहीं थी, कोई बड़ी कंपनी बनाने की ambition nahi thi. It was simply, if we can get 500 companies every month to put up one job listing on Naukri and pay 1,000 rupees. That's 5 lakh rupees a month. That's 60 lakhs a year. If I can do it in 3 years, I would have built a successful small business, financially viable, and that was my only ambition. So, badi ambition nahi thi, badi dream nahi thi. I wasn't thinking big. I was just pottering around, doing some small stuff. This one, right place, right time, worked hard, worked smart, internet became big, venture capital aya. We got lucky. God was kind, and this became a big company.
No, I don't think anyone would have imagined that what you started would do 200 crores of profit after tax Q1 of 23. So I think it's a phenomenal journey from there. Now from this, Traction reported in 2023, and this was that out of the 114 unicorns in India, according to data that they have, 17 of them are profitable. Now, a business venture like InfoEdge that has been repetitively doing a profit, do you think, what emotion do you think when you think about the word unicorn? And do you think that startups in today's day and age are overvalued, especially when a company like yours is actually, in my opinion, super undervalued?
No, but look, I have been somewhat skeptic of valuations. I think we should focus on sales turnover, margins, cash collections, profit, cash flow, and we have been that way from the beginning. And the reason for that is the way we've been schooled, because for 10 years as an entrepreneur, we bootstrapped and we had to break even to survive. So Naukri had to break even to survive from year 1 or year 2, because we simply did not have the capital otherwise. Now, if you've been schooled in that and you have that DNA, that's what you will focus on. So valuation is something which is the market gives you, depending on your performance. You should focus on performance, not valuation.
Got it. Do you feel that, okay, the second part of the question, do you believe in the word unicorn?
Not really.
Because
देखो, company चलाओ, make your customers happy, make a positive margin, make sure collections are happening, make sure cash flow is positive. Baki sab yaar, valuation will take care of itself.
Because
you should not be measuring your worth by the valuation, but by how many happy customers you have.
so this is very interesting. We are in the business of co-working. I meet a lot of young entrepreneurs who quit their jobs, and I ask them, what do you want to become in the next 5 years? And everyone says we want to be a unicorn. And I always tell them there is no unicorn. It's all mythical. So these are very wise words. Going forward, when you started Naukri did extremely well. Why did you start InfoEdge? And what was the vision? Because typically VC models in today's day and age are very different from what InfoEdge has been doing. So what was your vision back then?
So I'll tell you, InfoEdge started in 1990. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's the name of the company, right? Naukri is just a brand. Naukri is not a company. So InfoEdge has several brands, one of which is Naukri. And around 2007, post our listing, Naukri was profitable, cash was accumulating. And we said, how do we use this cash? And we said there are a number of very bright entrepreneurs who are trying to build startups. 2007, there wasn't as much venture capital available as there was subsequently. So we said, why don't we invest in a few startups and see what happens? So it started with a small experiment. And in the next 6 years or 5 years, we invested in maybe 8 to 10 startups, 2 of which were Zomato and Policybazaar, which went on to become successful financially. They listed. They're still listed. They're very valuable. We are still shareholders. We are the largest shareholders in both of them, and they are run by exceptional entrepreneurs and management teams. And we've ridden on the back and they have helped us succeed. And hopefully we also contributed a bit.
I think 2 out of 8 or 9 is a phenomenal success streak. How do you evaluate a business with all the frothy valuations in today's world? How do you evaluate the fundamentals of a business?
2 things. 2 things first, and then a whole bunch of other things. I think the first thing we look for is some evidence of what we call natural traction, which we want. We want some belief and proof and some logic that the customer or the intended customer will want this. The customer will like this, right? Now, if there is that, okay, then we say, okay, what's the team like? Right? And if both these are okay, then we look at a bunch of 8, 10, 15 other things. And then we decide to go in or not. Right?
I think that's a very valid point. 40, according to data, again 22 data, 40% of all venture capital that is raised by Indian startups goes into Google and Facebook to get a return on the advertisement. And a lot of those large-scale startups are scaling the wrong PMFs. So I think it's a very valuable advice. You've seen cycles over cycles over cycles. You've seen COVID. You've seen the 2008 crisis. You've seen the dot-com bubble burst. You've seen, I think, so many cycles that I don't think any technology entrepreneur, at least in India, would have seen. What is that one ubiquitous truth that you need to follow? What is the one Nadran star that entrepreneurs need to follow for constant success?
I think a relentless focus on the customer, right? Which, the better you understand your customer, the better products you produce for the customer, or the better services you provide, then even when there's a downturn, right, enough customers will stay with you and give you enough revenue that you're able to ride through the downturn. That is what we have focused on for the last 25 years after launching Naukri, that just relentless focus on the customer.
I think that's very valuable. Let's talk about the buzzword in town, which is artificial intelligence. Naukri ate someone's business. Someone
Actually, it didn't, but anyway, I'll come to that.
Someone might eat Naukri's business.
We constantly worry about that.
Yeah. So how do you mitigate disruption? What are your views on artificial intelligence and Industry 4.0? And do people need to worry about their Naukri?
Okay. So first of all, when we were launching Naukri, enough people told us, hey, you can disintermediate all the placement consultants, right? And we thought about it and we said, no, we don't want to disintermediate anybody. We should be a platform that's universal. Today, 30 to 40%, when we 30% of our revenue comes from placement consultants. Wow. We have more than 10,000 placement consultants as clients. Because placement consultants add value beyond just Naukri. Yeah. Okay? And therefore, they use us, they survive, they exist, they thrive. Direct clients also use us. Right? So everybody can use us. And we decided we'll enable rather than replace and disrupt. Right? And there are always ways to do that. Okay? As far as Naukri being disrupted, yeah, we are constantly alive to what's happening in the environment, what competition is doing or not doing. Can we be blindsided? Possibly so. But currently we have 14 projects, big, small, going on inside Naukri under development, which are trying to use Gen AI in some manner. Some will work, some will not work. The ones that work will hopefully make Naukri work better. And therefore, we will create more value for our clients. As far as people losing jobs is concerned, it's an evolving situation. Okay? I, thus far, have not seen any large-scale sacking as a consequence of AI or ChatGPT or anything. Right? You may see a shift in terms of deceleration of employment growth in this area, but you're probably adding people elsewhere.
Yeah.
Right? मुझे याद है in 1985 or 86, the then government decided हम banks में computer डालेंगे. Okay, there were strikes everywhere. That people lose jobs. And bank unions went crazy. Yeah. Nobody lost jobs. They just got more productive. Right? When the internet came, people again said, hey, people lose jobs. It didn't happen. Now, Gen AI is here. Will people lose jobs? Maybe some might, but I don't see large-scale sacking. I would definitely see a shift in employment. Right? And certain sectors and certain areas may grow slower than before, but certain others will emerge. So on an aggregate basis, in the medium term at least, I see increase in employment.
On that, in terms of you also run the Ashoka University. Education is very, very close to your heart. What advice would you give to young parents like me? I have a 2.5-year-old daughter. How should education be different for her? And what will the world look like in 2050 or 2070 when she grows up?
So the answer to the last question is, I don't know. Okay. When I look back to what the world was like when I began my career in 1984, and today it's very different. But if you had asked me in 1984 to predict, with 40 saal baad kya hoga, I would never have predicted this. Yeah. Okay. So it'll be different, be assured. Yeah. What the difference will be, I don't know. Exactly. Right? What you need to do is not to overthink it, not to get too tense, not to over-framework it. At the end of the day, boss, I was playing football the evening before my class 10 board exams. I still managed. Yeah. Right? ज़्यादा tension मत लो. ठीक हो जाएगा. Right? Okay.
That's what I tell my wife. Unfortunately, she doesn't listen to any of the advice that I give her. Okay, so you are a deep proponent of Bharat Bhagya Vidhata. What are the biggest changes and opportunities that you are seeing in India?
I think several things that are happening. So one is, I think the physical infrastructure investments and improvements that are happening, they will pay rich dividends over the next 10, 15, 20, 30 years, right? The other is the digital public infrastructure and the digital infrastructure, the digitalization of the Indian economy has happened. That has already begun to yielded great results and will continue to yield great results, right? Now, when UPI was first contemplated, or when the Aadhaar was first done, right? So just the other day, I had an international visitor, and he asked me, hey, what is this digital public infrastructure and how is it useful? So I took out my wallet, I took out my Aadhaar card, I carried it everywhere. I took out my PAN card, I carried it everywhere, and I took out my mobile phone, and I said, look, everything's connected to my bank account and everything. And I just said, let's go through the last 2 days of SMSs, right? And I took out the last 2 days of SMSs. There were at least 20 to 30 messages from ICICI Bank, from here, from there, all related to if a car goes to the airport, I get an SMS saying so much has been debited from your account on the smart card. So I said, look, this is how I'm able to, do stuff, and it's made me so much more productive and in control. This is just 10 or 15 use cases in the last 2 days for me. If you poll 1,000 people, you'll come to maybe a few hundred use cases. So this is what DPI has done, and UPI plus Aadhaar plus PAN plus mobile, a whole bunch of things being connected. I've done all this. Okay, and he was truly impressed because he's from the US, and US has nothing like this. And I confidently told him that, listen, the Indian digital public infrastructure is way ahead of anything I have seen anywhere in the world. So that is the second thing. The third is, I think, the number of startups. Okay. Now, when I was growing up and I went to school and college, or even IIM, our parents brought us up to study hard, clear entrance exams, get admissions, and somehow get a good job. Right? We were not trained to be entrepreneurs. The change today is that Indian middle class children, enough of them aspire to be entrepreneurs. And tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands are trying. And maybe a few million are dreaming that hum karenge. So that is a big difference. The aspiration to be an entrepreneur has become mainstream in India. It was a niche sort of thing earlier, unless you're from a business family. Right? So farak ye hua hai. Now, if a zillion people try, 1 million will succeed. And what happens when 1 million startups succeed? Infosys, HCL were startups when I began working. If I look at 1984 to today, 40 साल हो गए हैं. It's not been a revolution, but it's been a continuous evolution. Most revolutions are evolution, you know. बाद में when you look back, revolution हो गया, okay? But evolution हुआ है. And a lot of the change, a lot of the investment, a lot of the buzz, a lot of the growth in jobs has come from companies and industries and sectors that did not even exist. In 1984, when I began my career, IT services barely existed. IT-enabled services did not exist. Internet did not exist. Mobile telephony did not exist. Private sector telecom did not exist. Private sector insurance did not exist. Private sector banks barely existed. Private sector airlines did not exist. Right? So company after company has come up. Very often first generation entrepreneurs doing startups. So startups of today are giant companies of tomorrow, many of them. And therefore, startups are a central pillar of India's growth strategy. And that is something we need to keep in mind. And I think for the first time in the last 9-10 years, the government of India has recognized this and has taken action. The Startup India, Invest India, DPIIT. I myself served in the fund of funds for startups, which is managed by SIDBI. I served in the committee for the first 2 years. So I see a huge change and a huge shift, and a very positive shift. And for that, I think this government needs to be commended.
Now, I completely agree with you. Okay. So we had in 2016, I think we had some 800 startups or something. And the last data was close to 99,993 startups only registered with the DPIIT. So I think that that's something which is commendable for this government. 4 biggest opportunities for entrepreneurs like us in India.
You know, I don't look at sectors and do it top down. I do it bottom up. So we meet 1,000 startups a quarter. We invest in 3 or 4. If I done it top down, we would never invest in Zomato because I would never have said, hey, the restaurant listing sector in 2010 looks promising. There's no sector. Or the insurance comparison sector looks promising. There was no sector, right? So if you are trying to do something that is creation of a new category, doing something that does not exist, you don't look at sectors. You look at, this is my idea. These are my prospective customers. Is this something they need? And if that happens, and you go ahead and you get enough customers, so 1.4 billion लोग हैं इंडिया में, तो मार्केट तो मिल जाएगा आपको अगर वो जो आप कर रहे हो अगर लोगों को उसको फायदा हो.
So we have currently 85 crore, 850 million people on the internet, and we say that we are the largest internet democracy in the world. But there's a big challenge. Still in India, 91% of India earns less than $90 every single month. Do you feel that Indian customers will be okay in purchasing products versus the free customers that we have today?
See, if you give somebody something that provides value for money, so you're charging higher money, it had better provide higher value, and your intended customer should have that kind of money with perhaps no competition for you, right? But the truth is, in India, a very large number of people are not rich, right? And therefore, if you want to sell high volume in India, you better be pricing it right. Okay? You price it right, which means your costs have to be lower also. Right? You can succeed.
A lot of young founders, at least they come to me and they ask, what is one single advice which you will give to these young founders who are planning to quit their jobs, seeing Shark Tank, seeing a lot of entrepreneurial entertainment, infotainment programs? What is that one advice that you will give to early stage founders who have just started or going to start, and one advice for late stage founders who are going through this cycle where they're seeing drying up of capital?
So I'd say to the early stage founders, focus on your customer more than your investor.
That's a very good one.
Right? We started InfoEdge with 2,000 rupees. There was no venture capital available then. And we simply built it on customer money. Customers would pay us in advance and we would do the work. And why would they pay us in advance? Because we were doing something which was so unique, which they needed, and we were charging a very high price, and they wouldn't mind paying us in advance.
Yeah.
So we still today, Naukri charges 100% advance.
Wow.
And gets it. Because the product we have, we believe that provides so much value, and we are continuously innovating, that we are able to get those terms of trade. Right? To the older entrepreneurs, that listen, you've got to get to a situation where you are profitable. And you're profitable on operational cash flows, not on other income, not EBITDA but no collections. पैसे आपके बैंक में आ रहे हैं customer से. And on that you're profitable. That is the best insurance and best security. Ki my business is fundamentally financially viable. My customer is paying me money और मैं उसी पे गुजारा कर रहा हूँ. And if you get there, you have a successful company which is permanent and durable.
I think that's very wise. Coming on your personal life, I've known you for a decently long period of time. You are a person who's very approachable. I still remember when I sold my business, I've never been an investor. So I called Sanjeev sir and I told that where to invest, how to invest. And he gave some very interesting advice. How do you manage your work life? You're a very trusted advisor. Like if you ask anyone, and that's from Ritesh to Vijay, everyone says whenever there's a challenge in their lives, be it share prices dropping 70% in a quarter, be it challenges which are personal to founders, Sanjeev sir is always available. How do you manage to generate time for?
It's very hard. Okay, but I try and make myself available as much as possible. I'm not always successful. I'm not very often. I'm tardy in email responding simply because I just miss the mail. I don't see it. Okay, but yeah, I struggle, but I manage.
And the interesting part is he does not do it only for unicorn founders. He does it for founders like us who have never been venture backed. He does it for founders like Meghna who are still struggling in their journey right now. So I think that's commendable. So we're very grateful for that.
Unicorn founders don't need my advice,
but they need your support.
Well, they have their investors' advice and support right now.
And coming on the last part of this, and that is more towards your philanthropic journey. You've committed a lot of your time, resources to building Ashoka, to building a lot of these institutions which have innate value and will probably be relevant after 1,000 years. What is the right time to think about philanthropy?
So I think if it's important that when you don't have money, you give some time. Now, when you have money, chances are you won't have time. Right? So then you give some money. But I think the willingness to serve should be there in your head right from the beginning.
Yeah.
मैं कुछ और लोगों को भी मदद करूँगा.
Yeah. And what is the role of luck in your life?
Very important. There are 100 times I must have got lucky. But I was speaking a few years back to the senior management of a company where somebody asked me this question. I said, look, I've been very lucky, right? And I'm grateful for that. So the CEO of the company interjected and said, listen, this luck thing, let's talk about that. And he defined luck as, luck is about being at the right place at the right time. Right? But then, if you are in enough places, enough times, sooner or later, you'll be at the right place at the right time. So he said that, keep trying. Yeah. The harder you try, the luckier you will get.
That's amazing. So we all have a formula to manufacture luck. Okay, this is great. Now coming on to retail investors have lost a lot of money in new age startups when they get listed. What advice would you have for them?
Uh, so I should not be giving investment advice, but look, I think if you back a fundamentally sound company uh, and you are patient, you will hopefully get rewarded over the long run. So I recall we listed at price X in the year 2006. The price went to 2X on the day of the listing, and then it went to 4.5X as the market peaked a year, 2 years later. And then after Lehman went down and the global financial crisis happened, it dropped 70%. We are still running the company. We're doing our jobs. We don't run the stock price. We just run the company, right? But we kept at it, right? And the stock price came back over time. So you evaluate a company on its fundamentals, on its quality of management, on its corporate governance, right? And hopefully it'll come back. But you have to be patient. Hopefully it'll come back.
How do you generate this level of integrity and ethics? So I'll tell you a very interesting thing. You do not invest in startups in your personal capacity. What is one message that you would like to give to new age promoters when it comes to corporate governance, integrity, and ethics?
So I think, look, in the final analysis, your reputation is your only asset, right? Okay, बाकी सब उसमें build होता है. It's a foundation. And if your reputation goes, then everything else gets damaged. And the best way to preserve your reputation over the years and decades is to make sure that you are totally honest with everybody so that nobody can, or fewer people can say bad things about you.
I love the sentence. Your reputation is your only asset. I think this will be the highlight of this conversation. And one last question before we enter the rapid fire. Please let me know if I'm overstepping my time. Is when should founders raise their first round? Because a lot of founders have this challenge that when should we raise our round?
Okay, there's no one answer to
Yes.
that. Okay, but so I was doing a panel discussion a few years back with my co-panelist was Sanjeev Agarwal, who was then at Helion, now with Fundamentum. Prior to that, he founded Daksh, and he was asked this question.
Yeah.
And he gave an answer which I still quote. This: it's always better to raise money when the investor comes to you rather than you going to have to pitch. Investor comes to you, you will get your valuation, you will get your terms of trade, you will get the right investor. And when will the investor come to you? When you get your company into a place where you are investment worthy. Now, what does investment worthy mean? It means different things for different founders, different sectors, different sectors, companies, right? But if you are investment worthy, there should be some evidence of investors coming to you rather than you having to go and pitch, right? अपने काम पे फोकस करो, कस्टमर लाओ. अगर कस्टमर ले आओगे ना, इन्वेस्टर अपने आप आएगा. So focus on getting customers.
I think that's beautiful. So we have the last part of this, which is a rapid fire round. So you don't have to think. You just say the first sentence that comes to your mind. And we have some very interesting questions. So first, one trait common in successful people.
The ability to create trust across the table.
Yeah. Who's your role model?
I don't have a single role model. I have learned from 50 people.
The first person.
No. Okay, to give a strange and funny answer, when somebody pushes me, I say Gabbar Singh.
And why is that?
From Sholay. Well, he said many important things.
Yeah.
Okay. Jo dar gaya, so mar gaya.
Kya baat hai?
Second thing he said, yaad rakhunga.
Haan.
Never forget.
Kya baat.
And many other things he said.
This is amazing. And now we know that you also have a Bollywood buff inside you. Favorite travel destination?
So when when I didn't have money, right? We couldn't take expensive holidays. We couldn't take frequent holidays. We couldn't take long holidays, right? The two places I would go to, which was a drive away from Delhi, both of them, Kasoli, which is in the summers,
Yeah.
and Bharatpur in the winters, and the bird sanctuary because I'm quite fond of bird watching.
That's amazing. And now that you have the money,
I don't have the time.
one thing that you would like to see as a change in the Indian startup ecosystem?
I think I would like to see higher standards of corporate governance. I would like to see more, maybe a little less money chasing companies, but that's already happened.
Yeah.
That is about 2 years ago. I think you'll see more rational practices, more prudent practices commercially. ऐसा है कि पैसा हमेशा थोड़ा सा कम होना चाहिए.
Yeah.
That's when you try harder.
Yeah. Yeah. Never throw money at your problems.
Okay, so when a company raises too much money too easily and too fast, it tends to spend it suboptimally.
I think that's amazing. What would you tell your younger self, Sanjeev Bikhchandani at 21?
The importance of building a broad-based team.
Got
So when we launched Naukri, our head of technology was part-time.
Yeah.
I mean, he's very good, very talented, but he was a freelancer doing other stuff. We should have brought technology into the company perhaps a little earlier.
Got it. Favorite hobby?
So I'm not a techie, right? I studied economics in college.
Yeah.
And I understand tech. I can give a good brief. I can evaluate the output, but I can't do tech myself.
Yeah.
And that, therefore I should have augmented the team earlier.
Got it. Favorite hobby? Favorite pastime? I know you don't have time, but
No, I like bird watching.
got it.
I read a fair bit, but I no longer read books as much as I used to.
Yeah.
But
Sanjeev Bikhchandani as an investor or as a founder, which is your or better role?
well, देखिए, when you're a founder, ना, आप अपने हाथों से काम करते हो. You're creating something yourself. Psychologically, intellectually, that is always much more rewarding.
Yeah.
जो आपने खुद किया है.
I second that. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Retired.
No, that's good. But any.
See, I'm 60 today, so maybe taking it a little easier.
Oh,
But right now, work is going up; it's not going down.
yeah. One advice for both your kids.
I would say carve your own path, but commit and work hard at it.
Yeah. Favorite book?
Okay, there are two books. One is called Built to Last.
Yeah.
The other is called Good to Great.
Yeah.
Both books have a common author,
Yeah. Call.
and the one talks about characteristics of great companies as opposed to merely good companies.
Yeah.
So good to great. And the other is Built to Last. What makes a great company durable? How is it great over decades?
Yeah. Got it. Do you use Chat GPT?
I have experimented with it once or twice, a few times.
But it's not sustainable use.
No, I don't sustainably use it. I'm a little old-fashioned. I still use a physical diary for my appointments. I don't use when I got in my first job in 1984, the first thing my then boss told me, I want you with a writing pad and a diary.
Yeah.
And the company gave both to each employee. It says, every appointment, every phone call being scheduled, you must have in your diary. And if I see you without a job list, a to-do list, you're dead. I'll throw you out of the room. Okay, and she did that a few times, and then I learned.
If you could travel back in time, which year of humanity would you want to go back to?
1870.
And why so?
So I'm very interested in impressionist art.
Got it.
Okay, and in Paris, Impressionism started in the 1870s.
Yeah.
Formally as a first exhibition. So I think there's a very creative phase for the arts in Paris, maybe the whole of the 19th century. And I'd love to go and witness that happening.
Where do you spend most of your money? Because you travel in a Toyota. I've never seen you spend money. So like, how do you?
Well, I'm a Sindhi. Just kidding. No. I think if you've grown up in a middle class family with middle class values, you can't really depart from that. You are the person you were when you were growing up. You don't really change. So I'd much rather do philanthropy than spend too much money on myself.
My personal philanthropic journey is because of him. So very, very grateful. Favorite movie in the world?
Surely.
Favorite actor?
Then Amitabh Bachchan.
And now?
Well, first Rajesh Khanna, the young Rajesh Khanna, then Amitabh Bachchan, and now Shah Rukh Khan.
Oh, great. Favorite actress? Again, 3 answers would be appreciated.
3 answers.
Yeah, because your wife isn't here. So yeah, this is getting recorded. I'll make sure the message reaches.
So when I was 12 years old, Zinat Aman. When I was 30 years old, Madhuri Dixit. And I haven't really seen movies lately.
Yeah. Were you an introvert in school?
So I was an introvert when it came to public speaking, when it came to, talking to my teachers. I was extroverted when I was talking to my close friends.
Got it.
So it took, when I got comfortable with somebody, I was an extrovert.
Got it.
And I think most of us are like that.
Yeah. This is the last question. What would Sanjeev Bikhchandani in 2100 year, what would you like to be known for post?
I think you really want to build organizations and institutions that outlast you, outlive you, right? Whether it's a company, whether you invested in other companies, or whether you've made financial contributions to building education institutions, right? At the end of the day, a university like Oxford or Cambridge is, I think, 800 years old. So great institutions last a long time.
Yeah.
The longest living company was the East India Company, 250 years.
Yeah.
But if you look at some of the other companies, several are 100 years old and still going.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So you want to build organizations and institutions that are built to last.
Bonus question. What is that one trait that you feel is required to build institutions that outlive humans?
So the willingness to postpone your personal consumption and gratification.
That's amazing. That's actually amazing. That's great. No, thank you so much, Sanjeev sir, for being this candid. I think over the years of knowing you, I always had these questions. So I'm grateful for this opportunity to actually ask you all these questions. And we will ensure that you meet Madhuri ma'am very soon. Great. Thank you very much for being ardent listeners.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sanjeev. Thank you, Ritesh. Would request you to kindly be on stage for a photo opportunity. Also like to invite Mr. P.K. Mittal, the chairperson of India Mobile Congress, on stage, please. Can one of you please accompany him?
By the way, extremely honored by what you have done. I think this is fantastic. Yeah, like I have taken so many pictures. I'm going to tweet.
Also like to invite Mr. Ramkrishna on stage as well to please join them.
Yeah, wow. Hello, sir. Wow, it's an honor to meet you, sir. This is what you have created is amazing. You will be amazed. I just sent these pictures.
Thank you very much. Once again, thank you, Ritesh. Thank you, Sanjeev. Thank you, India Mobile Congress, for having given us this opportunity. I think we had a great time here. And thank you, everybody, all the people in the audience, our volunteers, for having stood by us for the last 3 days. Thank you so much. Thank you, all the delegates here. Thank you and see you next year.